Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. Joining me today is Todd. Todd, welcome.
Hey, how are you, Bernadette? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm great. It's melting here. I don't know what's the weather like where you are.
It's we're back to rain here in Denver. So it rained and then it was hot for about a month and a half, and now it's been raining again. So
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. So happy to have you on the podcast. To start, Todd, can you tell us more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a personal development coach, and I look for people that want to level up either their wealth or their relationships, and they want a simple way to do it that can get them there in 8 weeks and actually see progress. It's all based on my story. It's not that I read it in a book or I'm preaching someone else's story. I went through it 6 or 7 years ago when, like most people, woke up in January, saw myself in the mirror, and went, that's got to change. Um, so my resolution that year was the last one that I set because it lasted 3 days. And then living in Denver, day four, it was snowing and cold, and I was like, I'm not going. And I started to think about like why it was important and what was important about it. And I just kept digging in and kept asking myself, like, why? And it ended up with my kids. They were, God, 13 and 11 at the time, and they're active. And I didn't want to be the dad that was always on the sidelines because I couldn't participate with them. I wanted to be with them and actually enjoy watching them grow and go play catch and go fishing and go hiking and stuff like that. Um, and then, from there, it's just grown and evolved because I'm not the only one that's at that stage or is going to be at that stage where you want more out of what you're getting, and it's just you're struggling to find a way to get there, or what you've tried in the past just doesn't work. I am absolutely the anti New Year's resolution person, because 99% of the people, they do not work for by April 1st. And the downside of that is then come April 2nd, a lot of people are like, well, next year will be my year. And it's like, and you got 9 months left of this year. Like, and there's no rule that says you have to wait for a new Hallmark calendar to come out to start your next journey.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think you're one of the first person I meet who think like me when it comes to resolutions. I don't set them. I don't like them. I actually created an episode earlier in the year, this year, and it literally says why I don't like or set New Year's resolutions. And there wasn't much listeners because I think people have the expectation of hoping that something's going to work, but they're not putting in the actual work to get the results that they picture in their minds.
Yeah, well, and you society shows us that that's how you do it. I mean, the beginning of every year, you'll see a lot of people who are very successful out there saying, make 2023 your best year ever. And next year, we're going to see make 2024 your best year ever. And it's fine, except for they have to build on each other. And it can't just be a standalone, like, 1 year shot. It's like, if you're going to do that in 2024, then it shouldn't be make it the best year. It should be make 2024 better than 2023, and then make 2025 better than 2024. And it just keeps building, because that's growth, and that's progress. And I think a big detriment that people face and a fear that they face is anytime if you want something different, you have to do something different. You can't stay in the status quo and expect different results. If you want different, do different.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for sharing. Let's talk about, being overweight and, being not being as active, as parents. I've faced that. I don't think a parent necessarily have to be overweight. It's just maybe it's motivation or finding the will to
Yeah.
provide, to go on and to teach our kids. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of parents, and let's just face it, it's the way of the world. It's like they wake up in the morning and they don't have time in the morning because they're getting kids ready and out the door and school or whatever, and then they go and they grind at their job that may or may not provide them, like, some, it's not their passion, and then they get home and they're dead tired, and their kid has a game or an event, and they go and they think, okay, well, I was there, I was supportive, and yeah, you were, but um it's that next step of teaching generations and starting with us and going down. Like, it's not just like there is a cheerleader, but like if you actually take an active role, and I'm not saying you got to go be a coach. God, I was not the coach for my kids. Like, I played baseball, my son played baseball, and I was the first person to stand up and go, I'm not going to coach because the last person he's going to listen to is me. uh you know so, but I would go play catch and I'd go hit and go work on stuff that coaches did, um because that it strengthens a relationship, because they see that, kids see everything, and if they're taught from a younger age and on that parents are not just there to support, but they're there to participate and help kids with their own personal development, then that becomes their normal, and they turn around when they have families and they teach it to them, and then it just grows and expands, because kids will talk to other kids. What's your dad doing today? Well, it's Sunday, he's watching football, and the other kid's like, well, I'm going to go play baseball, my dad's coming, or my parents are both coming, why don't you come with us? And they see that, and that's how we grow as a society, is being more involved instead of just, I was there to support them monetarily and cheerleading, but like taking that active role. And it's amazing what it does to strengthen relationships. I mean, when I started, on my health journey and getting fit, my relationship with my kids is like innumerable times better, because they saw that it was important to me that I was there for them and why I was there for them. And it became important to them, to where they became my, you know, sometimes unwanted accountability partners of, no, this is important. And you could see it. You could just feel it. When your daughter's looking at you going, I don't care if it's snowing, get your butt out the door and go walk or whatever. It's because it's important to her, and that's building a stronger relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your takes on parents who are living with disabilities? I am, and I used to find myself competing and looking at what other parents were doing. I don't do that anymore because I'm learning to love where I am, why I'm there, which it isn't my choice. Most people don't have the choice. They either have chronic pain, somehow struggling, suffering, and trying to be the best parent that they can be.
Yeah, and that's it's what you just said is exactly it. You do the best that you can with whatever your situation is. If it's, like if the kids want to go for a hike up in the mountains and you're just physically not in a state where you can go, that doesn't mean that you can't go with them. Like, take them there, go find a bench, bring a book, bring an audio book or whatever, and just be there, because they know where you're coming from, because you've had that discussion, like, hey, mom or dad, this is where we're at because of whatever reason it is. But we want to be there to support, not just cheerlead, but to participate. But my participation ends at the bench over there, and I'm going to grab a book, and you've got my cell phone, and you do that. So it's I don't look at it as a like a limitation necessarily. It's an understanding of what is possible and not within some set guidelines that I guarantee you your kids, that they know and they understand, and they appreciate. They love you even more if you're on the park bench and you're sitting there. If they go skiing and you're like, I'm going to be in there with a hot chocolate, and but I'm there, because that's what they want to see, is that you're doing the best that you can, because that resonates with them. That's a lesson that they can take with them for the rest of their life, is, you know always do the best that you can with whatever that situation is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, because an example I can give is just last week I had so much pain I couldn't walk too far. I even around the house, but I still chose to go for a walk with my kids. And we went to the library, and I swear by the time I get home I felt no pain. I just needed to get up and move around. I had no pain when I returned, and they had fun. I had fun, and I felt better.
Yeah, yeah, it's you hate to say the healing power of kids, but it's true, because something in our being, we're all human beings, and something in you resonated from seeing their joy in you doing that with them, that it your body was like, all right, not today. We're gonna make this work today. And like you said, you got done and it was like you didn't have pain, you felt fine. And there's no other explanation for it than something about that contagious energy of joy and happiness and smiles and, you know pride or whatever it is, that it found its way to you.
Yeah, yeah. With the work that you do, what are some of the most common fears or struggles that people faced during the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic the pandemic had its own thing, because
Yeah.
obviously it drove a lot of people just inside. um and not that I'm tooting my own horn, because there's a lot of people that did, but I'm fortunate in the area that I live. There's trails everywhere, and even in my own neighborhood the sidewalks are like 8 feet wide. So I'm like, I can walk, you can walk right by me, and we're maintaining a distance and we're listening. So I think I was inside for like 2 days, and I was like, I can't sit here. Like, I got to do something. And there was a ton of people out. But I do think that some people they were forced inside. But I think I think what we're I don't know if we're going to see it, but I think part of the lingering effects are people that haven't come back outside yet, or they're still sitting there like, well, I heard this is coming up again, or and there's a fear to it of not wanting to involve yourself in a pandemic and all this other stuff. But at the same time, it's like, it's your life. This is my life. This is your life to create whatever we want out of it. And if you want something, then go do it. And if your fear is just so heavy weighing on you that you can't get out, well, it's a choice that you're making. It is a choice. And if it's like counseling or something that you need, like not necessarily a coach, but like a counselor, then go seek it out and go get the help, because you're not the only one. Because I think gone are the days of, the guys from the 40s and 50s, like, never asked for help. I didn't go to the doctor for 45 years. It's like, they went to college for a long time to figure out a lot of stuff. That you can't just fix because you're tough. And that's why I like you and I are both here, is we just want to help other people based on what we are going through, what we've gone through, and just let them know, like, look, you can do this. You can create your own future. And it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're 35, 45, 50, it doesn't matter. You don't need permission to retool yourself. If you're 70 and you're like, God, technology has passed me by, but I want to start an online business. Okay, go for it. Go find a 25-year-old who's really good at it.
Yeah. I think our only limit is ourselves. It's
Oh,
not media. It's not the people we're surrounded by or relatives. It's what we choose to do. I think it's mindset or motivation combined as well. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? I love that you brought up the age, because people use that as an excuse.
Oh yeah. 35, 35 and they're like, I'm set in my ways. It's like, you realize you've got like 50, 60 years left on Earth, right? But I do think it's a lot of society and a lot of just a lot of other people. They tend to suppress, for lack of a better term, kind of that freedom of thought, freedom of creation, freedom of just getting out and doing all these things. It's our parents grew up in the go to college, go to work someplace for 45, 50 years, retire, get your 401k, and then you go have fun. And that's not, it's becoming more and more, but for a long time it was a very select few that were like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do my own thing, and they were considered crazy and, all this stuff. But now we look at those people and we're like, they're innovators. They're at the beginning of a wave that hasn't even started yet. But you're right. It is self-limiting behavior, because even if society and everything is telling you to do this, your own mindset is, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to stay in my autopilot mode and whatever. So it doesn't matter. Just, don't break the law or anything, but anything else, it's like you're choosing to either listen to society and get in line, or to do something that you're passionate about, that lights a fire, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, let's go, another day, let's go.
Well, that described the podcast because people thought I was crazy, or I offended people by certain things I said. It's just those people who say you'll never be anything, mount to anything, or do anything. And I'm still going. And every day I wake up, I'm like, when is my next interview? What's the story? And I'm just excited. And it fills my soul that I can help people and also hear their stories. They also help me as well.
Oh yeah, I can honestly say, like, in the because I my coaching is done in groups, because it creates a sense of community, and people start to help each other, which is super cool to see. Because it's like, if I'm there as dad, and I start off and I do a lot of teaching, and then they kind of take the reins. Now it's not dad telling you what to do. No, it's Bob telling Judy, this is what worked for me. And she's like way more open, and she's like, okay, well, if Bob did it, then I'm going to do it. But you can't let that, like you said, it's like, it's crazy to go through with those coaching sessions. I sit there with a pen and paper, and just I take notes after notes after notes, because there's such great stories and such just amazing people that get into it. And I'm learning more than they are, I think, half the time, because I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna start, because I start to incorporate stuff. I'm like, and I give them full credit. This is what Bob did, or this is what Judy, or whatever, and this is what worked for her. And because they come up with some very, very creative things, and seeing them succeed, it's so rewarding. Like, when they get it and they start making progress, and it's like a light just turned on, and all of a sudden they go from sitting on a Zoom call like this, to all of a sudden they're like this, and they're like, their energy is higher, their confidence is higher, they're louder, they're more animated, and you can just tell, you're like, you got it. Because it's a transition that people go through. It goes from what they're doing, like if it's a health kick, a relationship, or wealth, or whatever, that's what they're doing. And at some point it transitions to, it's not what they're doing anymore, but it's who they are. And that's the cool moment, because they're like, I just leveled up, and the floor came right with me, and I'm not going back, because this feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you do it in groups, because when we're doing things together, we can see that other people do struggle. The,
Yeah.
the, the myth and the lies we portray to ourselves is that I'm the only one. No one else is. I'm going to be in this by myself, but in a group, no one can say that they're alone, because everyone has different stories that they can somehow relate and resonate with.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's I always love that. It's like, you'll have a discovery call, and they'll be like, all right, well, my story's a little unique, and it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's yeah, there's some uniqueness to it, but it's, with anything, it's going to fall into one of three categories: health, wealth, relationships. It's going to find its way into one of those three, and then we're going to dive into why. And that's the most important part, and that's the part of the program that requires the most, not, it's not even like a physical effort, it's mental. Like, you need, if you're going to truly succeed, you really got to dig into why it's important, and who it's important to. Because it's the difference between motivation and inspiration, right? Motivation is external. It's like, the motivation quote per day that you get on a calendar, or an email, or website. Whereas inspiration, it's in you, it's in me, it's in everybody. And it's that core thing in there that's like, I don't care what's going on, this thing, I'm not failing. That's what you need to find.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do you also have a podcast, Todd?
I do. It's called Personal Development Hacks. Easiest way is just find us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. It's at Project 9 Life. And, like yourself, have guests and just amazing people that I've had the opportunity to meet and talk to, and to a T, every single person that I've talked to has one very common interest, and it's all helping other people. That's it's just it runs through everybody. They're just looking at people that are struggling with something or challenged with something or want something more, and helping because of their experience, their knowledge, their know-how, whatever ultimately it is. And it's just about helping other people, because it's a rising tide lifts all boats. That's exactly what it is. If you think about it, everyone talks about in the United States, at least, the top 1%. Well, there's only the top 1% that control everything. And I always look at it, I'm like, yeah, but what if it was like 2? Like, that's not that big of a leap, right? But if you think about it, if there's whatever 350 million people in this country, that's another 3.5 million people that are like achieving and doing what they want. And then you go to 3, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, now you can actually, you feel that upswell of everyone's doing stuff, and we all have stuff to give. That's the thing.
Tell me more about Project 9 Life. I love that name, by the way.
Yes, well, that was the the name, and it was a direct inspiration from my kids, because it's the number 9, and that's got like a diamond off to the side around it. And it's because both of my kids, my son played baseball, my daughter plays softball, and in both sports, on defense there's 9 players, and the diamond is the bases. So that's where it came from. But the company in general, it's focused exactly on that. It's just coaching. It's helping other people. We've got a few different products that we offer, in terms of everything from, here's some guidance to, for someone who's self-motivated and they just need a little bit of direction, to, this is going to take a lot longer, I need a full year. And a couple in between, so that the thing, the tagline, I guess, for the company is like, I just want to help other people do what inspires them, because that's, everyone's got different passions and everyone wants different stuff. I just want to help them if they're passionate about it and it inspires them. I just want to help them understand there's a path to get there, but it's got to be for a lifetime, not a short time. I mean, I had a guy come on. He's like, I want to be a billionaire. I was like, sweet. Where are you at now? And he's like, I got about like $100,000. I was like, okay, so this is going to be a long-term plan. We just got to lay out a pretty good path. And he's following it, and he is making progress. I mean, it's going to take a while to get to his $1 billion, but, and he wants to establish, he has a child with special needs, and he wants his true inspiration is he sees what his kid has been going through. So he wants to establish a level of wealth to where he can give back to help other kids that are in the same situation. So I'm like, that is a true why. Like, it's not, he doesn't want to be on a Forbes list. He just wants to be able to take it and then help others that are dealing with what his kid's dealing with. So
what is one piece of advice you would give to anyone who would like to do what you're doing as a coach?
Well, it's the simplest, just do it.
Yeah.
But but in the end, it's like if you look at however old you are, it doesn't matter, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. Look at stuff that you've dealt with and that you've overcome in your own life. Everyone has a story. Everyone has, something that they can offer to other people. Because if one person has dealt with what you're dealing with, there's a lot of people that are dealing with it. And besides technical aspects of, you need to get out there and utilize whatever methods for social media or contact or whatever. But other than that, it's just take your story and just build on it and tell it. Don't be afraid to tell your story. Um, I'm not proud of the fact that I weighed what I weighed and looked like what I looked like, but I share it openly because I overcame it and I don't look like that, you know. Um, and I've established it as my new, it's the new me, and I knew that I had established it because people stopped asking me questions about it. Used to be like anyone going through any type of anything physical weight loss, right? Like it's the most apparent and easiest to see. Someone just starts shrinking, right? And so people would always be like, well, you're losing weight. How much have you lost? What are you doing? What are you eating? And all these questions every time I would see people. And all of a sudden, after about three months, they just stopped asking because I kept showing up and looking better and better. And they're just like, well, Todd's here. They didn't question what I was doing, what weight I had lost, because I never shared it. I was like, I don't know where I started. I literally didn't get on a scale. I still don't own one. Because I don't care. It's about fitness and activity with my kids.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like scales. I don't use them. I think I might have one in my house. I don't really use it. Even when I get to the doctor, I don't want to know my weight. Even when I was pregnant with my kids, I don't want to know my weight. Why? Maybe it's triggers. Maybe I just don't want to know. Some things are better left not knowing if it's
Yeah,
impact people mentally.
yeah. You
What are your
just
thoughts?
yeah, you just step up and you're like, I don't know. What's
Yeah,
don't tell me.
yeah, yeah. I never wanted to know. They can take it, and I looked away. They just did the weight thing, and that was it. And I know so many people are they have fears or subconscious fears, I would say, combined with how society views them based on their weights or looks.
Yeah, you're right. And that's where one of the things as an additional benefit to you just making progress in your own life based on your own goals is as you start to make that progress, your confidence goes up, your energy starts to go up, and people start to feel that. We were talking beforehand how it's like as you start to do that, like you become an attractor, and like you have the efforts that you're making to make contacts, to get to know people, to meet people, to be in those social environment, whatever ultimately it is, they disappear because people just come to you because and they can't put their finger on it, right? They're just like, there's something about you. And that's what it is. It's your confidence, your energy are higher because you feel great about the progress that you've made, and only you, and if you've told anyone, know this is only the beginning. You don't know where I'm going to go. And it's kind of like that mystery, and you're like, you don't know. Like that's great that you feel this way now. Come back and see me in 6 months.
I would describe myself as a mystery. I attract all types of people on the podcast. I don't let the pain I'm feeling or the past kind of I don't let it choke me. I choose to deal with it and process it. People say I make them feel comfortable, and it just flows. I can't put my finger on it. They can't, so I don't know. It's a mystery and it's working.
Yeah, and some stuff you don't need to describe. It's just like you show up and people see you, or they start talking to you, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm good. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's it's and but they can't say why. It's because I like the background that you've got, or your camera looks really they don't know. They're just like, nah, I just got on and it was easy. It was just like talking to someone that I've known for a decade. um and that's the easiest thing. But to get back to the one thing that you said about the fears, because I think both of us, the clients that we get in, they basically, it takes courage on their part to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm coming to you because I need help. Okay, so that means they're not happy with where they currently are. They're going to do something new. The first thing they're going to feel is fear. Just know it. You're not abnormal. You're normal if you're feeling fear. And what'll happen is subconsciously you'll start to punch holes in it. Well, what if I don't make it? What if I don't succeed? What if I don't get as far as fast? What if I fall short of this? What if, something happens and stuff like that? And then ultimately, if you let that subconscious and those holes win, the downside is you go right back to the life that you already said you weren't happy with. So I get people to take the other stance. What if you do this and it works? What then? All of a sudden, now you're going the other way. It's like you're that much closer to where you wanted to go. You're making that progress. You're look at you, your confidence, your energy, everything is better. You're meeting people that you didn't even know before, and they're just coming up to you instead of you seeking them out. And but you have to have that mindset. Like, if I do this and it works, oh God, like, hold on, basically, just hold on to the reins.
Yeah. Fear. I don't know how to describe it because there are a million ways I could, and it varies based on the person. In my opinion, I think fear, it's the lingering smell of trauma or the absence of the known or the unknown, because we
Yeah.
fear what might come. We don't even know what's gonna come. Obviously, the past already happened. How can we overcome the fear that is holding us from moving forward?
Yeah, the best way I can talk about that is, I have, there's a few things that I'm a staunch believer in, and one is that no one in this life has ever failed, ever. We've all just had a lot of different learning opportunities, and the best evidence I've got is Thomas Edison. He invented the light bulb, right? And when he finally got it, someone asked him, like, how did you fail to make a light bulb so many times, but yet you kept going? And he looked at his response was classic. He goes, actually, I didn't fail once. He said, I just learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. There you go. Like, take all those stuff, take all that past that you've got, and just critically look at, okay, I did it, it didn't work. What did I learn from it? I did this, it didn't work. What did I learn from it? And then just don't repeat those mistakes. And that's where a coach comes in, because we've made mistakes. And I'm going to be the first one to be there and say, okay, here's the mistakes that I made. Don't do these. Here's the successes that I had. These may or may not work for you. It has to be what fits you, your personality, what you're driving at. But that's the benefit of now. It's like two people's worth of learning opportunities that you get.
Yeah, definitely. So earlier in your journey, Were there some books or resources that really helped you?
But I read that's my enjoyment, is like I just read. Um, I do like I don't drink, so I've got in my dining room I've got like a liquor cabinet that is my library. It's like two full like 8 foot lines of books, and they're mostly like, you know, either coaching books or different storytellers. I mean, everything from Ryan Serhant, who's a realtor in New York, to Grant Cardone, to Simon Sinek, to everything in between. I've got Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights book. Um, and so there's always stuff that you pick up. But one of the most powerful was it was Start With Why, and it's written by Simon Sinek. Now, it's taken, he wrote it from the standpoint of a business, like, he's an author, obviously, and then he's talking about businesses are focused so much on what they produce, but they're not focused on why they produce it, which is why he differentiates, like, Apple is because if you watch an Apple commercial, there's only ever one person in it. It's because they talk about individuality, right? But the why is born in that company and goes through. But if you take that same premise and just put it in your life, start your journey with why, and you're going to have that much greater chance of success, because you're going to know not what you're doing, but why you're doing it.
Yeah, I love that. So what's next on your journey, Todd?
Well, so the next evolution of this is, once I get to some scale and consistency with my current business, ultimately I want to expand and do a Project 9 Kids. So it would be focused on kids that are 18 and under, but the difference being is I want to promote kids and have kids teach those group sessions. So instead of me sitting there and talking to 12 to 17-year-olds, I want a 15-year-old to be there talking to them and walking them through the process. And get them started on, kids started on their own individual stuff, and start that process early. And then maybe take some kids and be like, look, you can do this for a living. You literally can do this based on your story, and your message will be different. You'll have a different path and different story, but this is available to you. So that's kind of where that's going to be what would be next.
Yeah, I love that you want to empower kids to help kids, because who better understand kids than kids?
Oh yeah, yeah. If one of them's like, Billy pushed me down to the playground, I'm going to be like, okay, but like Julie, she's going to be like, okay, let's do, and she'll know exactly what that's like. So it's, I mean, there's a couple aspects of it, but yeah, I think it's, it's kids are going to listen to other kids. They're going to know that it's someone that's, wasn't 15, like, God, 33 years ago. It's like a 15-year-old today, dealing with today's problems, today's stuff, speaking to them about how to overcome and how to push through and make their path.
So what is one key takeaway that you want my audience to get from this episode?
The one key thing that I would say is, for everyone out there, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through the very same thing that you're going through. So it's two things. Get help, like reach out to myself, to Bernadette, just get help. Someone to guide you through it. And most importantly, and this will be the last, like the actual key is, if you want something different, do something different. And that's the key to the whole thing. Like, don't be the fly that keeps hitting the window. Like, if you want something different, you got to do something different and challenge your own status quo and your own limiting beliefs and what society says. Do something different.
Yeah. And you mentioned get help. That's terrifying for some people, most people. It's not as bad to get help, you guys. I've had to get help. It's just finding the strength and the will to suppress the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The 1940s guy, the tough guy, I can do it myself. It's like, well, you might be able to, but if your way is going to take you 5 years and my way is going to take you 8 weeks, which way do you want to go? It's just learning from others, and you'll find, you get on a call, it's group, you're not the only one there, and you're gonna meet some amazing people as well. um, People that are going through or just went through exactly what you're dealing with, and they're going to give you firsthand knowledge of, this is what I faced, this is what I did, this was my result.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've shared a little bit where people can find you. Can you tell us more? Is there a website or groups you have?
Yeah, so all social media, you can just go to @Project9Life. It's everywhere from, I've got the YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook. The website is project9life.com. I'm undergoing a little bit of a adjustment with the website. But though, everywhere on social media, if you see Project 9 Life, it's going to be my smiling face or a picture of a wave, which is on my app. So, but yeah, then again, the email info@project9life.com. That's the easiest way, guys. I mean, I'm like a 17-year-old. This thing is never far from my pocket. I run my business through it. So I'm typically almost always available. But if you want to do some research or see stuff or see other podcasts, go to YouTube and just subscribe to the channel, and you can see a lot of the other guests like Bernadette, who, share different stuff and have different backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question before I let you go. What is the meaning of life for you?
Ooh, wow. That's the ender, huh? You know, I think the meaning of life for me is to empower my kids and subsequent generations to continue to make progress, and just continue to grow themselves and grow their potential. I think that, God, I can't remember who said it, but he said, like, a cemetery is a gold mine of unfulfilled dreams. And it's true, because there's so many people out there that had opportunities that didn't take them. And so the meaning of life is, if you're passionate about something, inspired by something, dream of something, do something different and go do it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Todd, for your time and for
Yeah.
sharing, and for making a difference where you are and around the world. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Bernadette. And thanks, guys. I appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Welcome.